Today, we're going to be talking manual gearboxes, and specifically the myth that you cannot rest your hand on the gear shift. Now, I'm going to go through the intricate details of a gearbox and show you why you can, in fact, rest your hand on this shift while you're driving with no harm happening to the transmission at all. So let's take a look at the gearbox itself. This is the 5-speed WRX gearbox out of my off-road buggy, and I've already started to disassemble it a bit for you. This back section here is a sort of tail cone, and this here is the shift rod, where if you can imagine your gear shift is inputting into here. So if you go across and forward, that's first, back second, third, fourth, etc. Now this rod is suspended on two bearings that are basically made of a whole bunch of little small spheres. I hope you can see those. And they allow it to move side to side, forwards and backwards. And the most wear that they're going to encounter is obviously when you're actually shifting. So now if you have a look at where the rod actually engages with the transmission, we have these three linkages here. And the shift rod will push these back and forwards when it's aligned with each one. So one of those does first and second, one does third and fourth, and one will do fifth and reverse in this case. And these linkages actually go through to the shift collars. So we follow the linkage here, here's our shift collar here. And this collar moves from one set of gears to the other, thus giving us our ability to shift gears. And we can see that it actually takes a very large amount of force to sort of move these collars at all. And any wear occurring here is from the rubbing motion of this on this sort of surface. But if we have a look here, we can see there's quite a bit of play as we move this shift backwards and forwards. And that's the sort of play that you feel around the dead spot of your gear. You can feel your gear wobble while it's in gear. That's what we're feeling there. And so if you rest your hand on the gear shift, you can see that as long as you're not applying a significant forwards force that's going to actually press through to here, all you're doing is just moving this from the back of here to the front of there, and there's going to be no wear of any of these components on this side. You're not going to wear this because it's metal to metal, and you're not going to wear the tail cone because those bearings aren't going to wear either. So just resting your hand on the gear shift and not applying forwards or backwards force isn't going to wear any of the components that you can see here. Now sitting inside the cabin, we can see how the driver would feel those plays that we're seeing at the gearbox. I'm in first gear at the moment, and in first gear we've got a little bit of play forwards backwards and a little bit of play side sides. If I go down and shift to second, we still have a little bit of play forwards backwards and a little bit of play side side. That forwards backwards play is just from that metal to metal contact that I was showing you earlier. And we see that if I want to move it out of gear, I've got to push it a little bit. Then there's a secondary resistance, and that's as the actual shift collar is pressing up, and we'll actually get a rubbing motion. And then if I push further, that's what brings it back to neutral and out of gear. So we can see that this actually takes a pretty noticeable amount of force and isn't something that's going to happen if you just rest your hand on the top. As long as there's that little bit of play with your hand on the top of the gearbox, nothing bad is going to happen and no rotating components are going to contact. Therefore, you're not going to see any notable wear. Obviously, if you start yanking backwards on the gear shift like this, if you're in second, you can feel this hard hit point there, and that's where the selector fork is pressing up hard. That's going to cause wear of your selector fork. And if you press hard forwards, you're constantly going to be popping out of gear. So you can't yank on the gear shift while you're holding in gear, but you can certainly rest your hand there, and there's no problem with that, and it's something that I do every day with no problems at all. So, you can rest your hand on the gear shift, as long as you're not an idiot about it. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, don't forget to like it, leave a comment below saying what you'd want me to do next, and don't forget to subscribe if you enjoy my other videos. See you next time.